Hello everyone, this is Michael Stephen Vargas from VigoChess.com. So today's video, I just think I want some opening videos, right? Videos about chess openings. And so this video is not really about a specific opening or anything like that. Just some general things why are chess openings important to understand. What are the advantages to having a good opening, and should you really focus on openings? So that's all this video. If you're a beginner, then this is likely something that you will think of yourself naturally, because a lot of beginners really stress out about openings. And so how really important is it to you as a player? Because it is as important as you think, or maybe it is not as important as you think. So that's what I'm going to be discussing today. I think the first question that we need to ask to determining the importance of chess opening is, does it actually help you not lose the game early? The opening phase, does it help reduce the chances of losing early in the game? And so the answer is yes, it kind of does. But there's always a but. It kind of reduces the chances of losing early because, first of all, if you have a good opening repertoire, you are much more likely to avoid traps. So traps, you don't even need to know every individual openings out there to avoid traps. As long as you have good sense of some particular lines, you will be aware of the traps hidden within it, because frankly there's always a pattern in openings to which lines have going to be traps or not. And so if you have a decent, not even great, just decent opening repertoire, then you are much more likely to avoid these traps and avoid losing early. And also, it will also losing early is not really just also about traps. Sometimes you just play suboptimal moves and you lose a pawn or a piece, or for example, right? It's kind of synonymous to losing the games for some people. So if you have a good opening repertoire, you are unlikely to lose a pawn or a piece so early in the game, because you have good opening repertoire. You are aware of at least 1 to 3 viable moves, not even the best moves, just the viable moves that doesn't lose early in the game. And so having a good opening repertoire definitely helps with this. Now let's talk about something interesting, which is, will openings help in the middle game? Because yes, opening helps in the opening phase, that's obvious, otherwise nobody will be talking about it. But is it really worth the time to be spending all this much into openings? Because does it really even translate to middle game? And the answer is yes, it kind of does sometimes. It kind of does, in the sense that there are opening positions that doesn't lose you a pawn or a piece, on a visual level, but it is non-holdable, right? There are some positions that cannot be holded, and so having a good opening repertoire, of course, avoids encounter with these positions that it's really non-playable in the middle game. But the thing is, you really don't need openings to actually play decent. That's the twist. You don't need super extended knowledge in the opening to play decent. Not even the best is decent in the opening. If you already know some basics of chess, because the point of openings is to allow you to play the best possible move from both sides to create the best possible position. However, most of this doesn't translate into the middle game unless it is really that bad. If you can find just the decent moves, the best moves that doesn't lose immediately, which you likely can, then you don't really need to have extensive opening repertoire. Of course, that is a good plus, but if you are a beginner, it's much more beneficial to focus on the concepts rather than the actual moves, which are the theoretical openings. I always say this, right? If you have mastered the end game, then it's still better than the opening as a beginner, because if you make a mistake in the opening, you can still make up for it in the middle game. If you can make a mistake in the middle game, you can still make up for it in the end game. But if you make a mistake in the end game, the game will just end, right? It's the end game. And so the end game is really the most important phase for beginners. Not there will be stage where it will become much more important than the end game, but for most beginners, it's really great to actually focus on the end game first, then the opening. Next, let's tackle something that is less talked about, which is the psychological aspect of this. Does having a good opening repertoire makes you comfortable as a player? The answer is of course yes, when you have a plan to really the worst case scenario, even not just the worst case scenario, just like unexpected scenarios, right? You are much more likely to be confident because the territory is charted, the threats are visible, and so there's less likely for you to really encounter something really bad because if you have a good opening repertoire, it just makes you psychologically prepared. However, from experience, I've found out that most beginners really can't implement the things that they memorized early on. It's only really useful if it is implemented by a player who's already good at chess, and then they just want to like enhance all their aspect of their game. And so, but for most beginners, memorizing really wouldn't bring that much comfortability because even if they memorize, they are likely to forget it in the actual game. Just trust me. I seen a lot of a lot of beginners try to do this approach and they just fail because they think that they will have it planned, but then chess is so complicated. There's so many variations and they just don't know what to do after. So that's a really good thing to consider in this debate. Now, I don't want to leave the impression that I'm saying that openings are not important indefinitely, right? There are definitely a stage in your growth as a player where it is important, but it is not applicable for most people. The stage that I'm talking about is around really the 1800 to 2000 rating where you will actually see most of the results. If you are not around there at 1800, 2000, like even at leeches, I don't think you should be worried about openings at all because you are not at the stage where you don't have a lot of things to learn. It's better to, if you're at this stage, it's better to just learn middle games or end games pattern and then, or even just tactical pattern rather than openings that are fully rote learning, memorized, right? After then, but once you get to that level where you can't study middle game or end game much further, then you will see much more improvement, of course, in the openings because little things matter, especially even at the early phase of the game. But for most people, it's not as applicable because most people are not 1800 and 2000 rated, right? So, yeah, good thing to consider. Now, I want to go into a rant that openings, mastering openings will really make you a complete player because in a game, this is purely based on skill, right? Chess is mostly based on skill, not luck. But without opening theories, usually it is kind of a game of luck, right? Maybe somebody spot a move that they just miss a spot, right? Sometimes you just win by luck that you can feel it that I'm lucky like that my opponent missed this particular move, right? With openings, it makes it less about luck because everything is so methodical, so planned and strategic. Everything is so prepared, right? And so it will definitely remove this, but it also makes you a complete player because chess has three phases. If you only ever focus on the middle game and end game indefinitely, then you can never truly master chess because, for example, in today's era, memorization is becoming much more and more important if you play against an opponent that has mastered the middle game and end game as well. Then kind of the opening is really where the mediator stands, the one which decides how, let's say, opponents of equal strength kind of decides which wins against opponents of equal strength, right? So it's definitely really important. So that is all about how I think the importance of chess. If you want to share more, I'm sure there is still more that I have not discussed. You can feel free to comment below, of course, so everyone can learn about what you think. And if you like this video, give it an actual like. And that is all for today. Sleep well and play chess.